Had Sarah realized how transformative this trip to Paris would become, she might have prepared differently. She had packed her camera equipment meticulously, of course, her DSLR camera, 3 different lenses, memory cards, and her tripod. But she hadn't anticipated how Paris would change not just her photography, but her perspective on life itself. The autumn sun cast a golden hue across the Seine as Sarah balanced herself against the white railings of the bridge. She was wearing her trusty brown jacket, which had accompanied her on countless photography expeditions, and her vibrant red scarf fluttered in the gentle breeze. Her beige tote bag hung from her shoulder, containing her essentials for a day of urban exploration. If I had discovered my passion for photography earlier in life, Sarah thought, I would have studied it at university instead of business administration. This was a thought that had crossed her mind frequently lately, especially since her photographs had started gaining attention online. While she was adjusting her camera settings to capture the perfect shot of the Eiffel Tower framed by yellow and green autumn trees, she couldn't help but wonder if she was at a crossroads in her professional journey. The situation reminded her of a fork in the river, one path leading to security and predictability, the other to creative fulfillment but uncertainty. Tom approached, having just finished a phone call with their mutual friend, Emma, who had been meant to join them on this trip. Emma's exhibition has been postponed, Tom explained, tucking his phone into his pocket. She said she would have joined us if the gallery hadn't changed the dates at the last minute. Sarah nodded, still focusing on her composition. Emma's successful career as a gallery photographer was both an inspiration and a source of gentle envy. Though Sarah had never explicitly voiced this to Tom, he had picked up on it over the years. "You've got a good eye for composition," Tom observed, peering over Sarah's shoulder at the camera display. "That shot perfectly captures the essence of Paris, the architectural marvel against the natural backdrop of autumn foliage." Sarah smiled at the compliment. "I'm trying to tell a story with each photograph. It's not just about capturing what's there, but revealing what might otherwise go unnoticed." She had been working on this philosophy ever since attending a workshop by a renowned travel photographer 6 months ago. The blue and white tour boat that had been gliding beneath the bridge now disappeared from view, carrying its passengers toward the next landmark. Sarah had captured it in several frames, appreciating how the boat's movement created a dynamic element in her otherwise static composition. "You know, you're not just shooting the breeze with this photography thing," Tom said, using an idiom that made Sarah chuckle. "You've got a genuine talent. If you don't seize the opportunity to pursue it professionally, you might miss the boat altogether." Sarah lowered her camera, considering Tom's words. "But throwing caution to the wind and quitting my job would be reckless, wouldn't it?" She bit her lip, uncertain. The photography industry is so competitive. For every successful photographer like Emma, there are hundreds struggling to make ends meet. Tom leaned against the railing, gazing at the Eiffel Tower that had been photographed millions of times yet never lost its allure. "True, but you've been burning the midnight oil for months, building your portfolio and network. Your Instagram following has doubled since spring." Sarah had indeed been dedicating every spare moment to improving her craft. Her colleagues at the marketing agency where she worked had begun to recognize her talent as well, occasionally asking her to handle photo shoots for smaller clients. The structure of the Eiffel Tower, visible in the background of their conversation, seemed to symbolize something to Sarah, a monument built with both mathematical precision and artistic vision. Perhaps her own career could embody that same balance. "Did I ever tell you about my grandfather?" Sarah asked, adjusting her red scarf as a cooler breeze swept across the bridge. Tom shook his head, intrigued by the sudden change in conversation. He was a watchmaker who dreamed of designing buildings. By the time he had saved enough for architectural school, he had a family to support and couldn't take the risk. She paused, watching a leaf drift down to the water below. On his deathbed, he told my mother that his only regret was not pursuing his passion when the opportunity presented itself. That's powerful, Tom replied softly. Is that why photography means so much to you? Sarah nodded. Partly. I don't want to look back at my life and wonder, what if? But it's more than that. When I'm behind the camera, I feel fully present. Everything else fades away: work stress, relationship complications, existential worries, it all disappears. While they had been talking, the light had shifted subtly, the golden morning glow deepening into the richer light of midday. Sarah noticed immediately and raised her camera again, capturing how this new illumination altered the appearance of the familiar landmark. The Eiffel Tower had been constructed as a temporary exhibit for the 1889 World's Fair, yet it had endured to become the ultimate symbol of Paris. Sarah wondered if there was a lesson in that, how something intended to be transient could become permanent and defining. Perhaps her own temporary interest in photography was meant to become her legacy. The pictures you've taken on this trip could be the foundation of your first exhibition, Tom suggested. If Emma were here, she would tell you the same thing. She's been singing your praises to her gallery contacts. Has she really? Sarah's eyes widened in surprise. Emma had always been supportive but had never mentioned any concrete connections. Tom nodded, a mischievous smile playing at his lips. She swore me to secrecy, but since we're having this heart-to-heart, I thought you should know. She believes your urban landscapes have a unique perspective that tells stories beyond the obvious. A family of tourists approached, asking in broken English if Sarah would take their photo with the tower in the background. She agreed immediately, switching effortlessly from artist to service provider, guiding them into a composition that would give them a cherished memory of their trip. After they had thanked her profusely and moved on, Sarah turned to Tom with newfound determination in her eyes. I've been playing it safe for too long, she declared. When we get back to London, I'm going to speak with my boss about reducing my hours. I'll use the extra time to build a proper photography business plan. Tom beamed, clearly pleased with her decision. That sounds like a sensible compromise. Not burning bridges while pursuing your passion. Sarah laughed. 3 idioms in one conversation? You've been studying that English phrase book again, haven't you? Guilty as charged, Tom admitted with a grin. But seriously, I'm proud of you for taking this step. Sarah raised her camera once more, capturing the interplay of light and shadow on the Seine surface. The water that had flowed beneath this bridge for centuries would continue long after she was gone, just as the photographs she created would outlast her own memories of this moment. In that instant, through her viewfinder, Paris wasn't just a city of landmarks and tourists, it was a living canvas of possibilities. And Sarah, with her camera in hand and her red scarf dancing in the breeze, wasn't just documenting the scene, she was becoming part of it, her own story now inextricably woven into the fabric of this ancient, ever-evolving city.